The flustering summer season had now passed, and the engines of the North Western Railway were returning to their normal habits. This was a less busy time of the year, a rest for the bustling about in the hot summer, and for the winter rush ahead in December. This was such the case at the end of the Little Western branch line, where engines both big and small were returning to the much appreciated warmth of their sheds. The small railway engines had just brought in their last train of the day, and chuffed happily off to the turntable. Evening, Duck. Good night, Mike. Duck had just shunted a trail of empty trucks he had brought from down the junction, ready to be filled with fresh ballast from the hills. As Mike backed his way into the shed, Duck could overhear Oliver and Donald quarrelling in the standard gauge sheds. I don't see why we can't, though. We celebrate Christmas and birthdays and New Year, but we never do anything for Halloween. Ollie, how many times do I have to tell you? Halloween is a waste of time. A whole day dedicated to haunt you and try and shake you off your tracks. There's no point to celebrate the living dead. Now, you two, what's gone in your funnels? I've no idea what you're doing, but you're obviously not doing it right. There are only two ways of doing things. Okay, here we go. The Great Western Way, or the wrong way. There's nothing else. Now, share a buffer and tell me what you're arguing about. Yon Oliver here is making a Great Western fuss about nobody celebrating for Halloween. Goodness me, Halloween. That's tomorrow. I almost forgot. Exactly. That's just my point. Nobody has put out decorations or prepared parties or anything. It's easy to forget when there's nothing to remind you. Aye, there's nae a pumpkin to be seen. All right, Oliver, I see your point. Why don't we celebrate now, while we have the time? We may be too busy tomorrow. But, Duck, we can't have a jack-o'-lantern. Driver's gone home now. Duck chuckled. We don't need a pumpkin lamp to celebrate Halloween. Just like you don't need snow to celebrate Christmas. It's the company of others that makes events really special. Oh, all right then. But what shall we do? Well, I'm sure one of us must have a good ghostly story to share. Oh, a ghost story. I've got loads. Let me think. Yeah, right. Yeah, I know a good one now. Shall I tell you? Well, we've got nowhere else to be going, and I'm sure you'll tell us anyway. But, added Duck, it must have an happy ending. Okay then. Once upon a time, a long time ago, three small railway engines ran a line along the coast, taking passengers and goods through the howling winds which came in from out at sea. Railways were the best way to travel back then, and horses that ran along the roads had to look up to the iron beasts they called locomotives. Along the line, there were a lot of bridges and sidings and station halts that were forever bustling with the rattle of trains going by. There was also a tunnel, which stood alone, with a single track going through it. covered by trees and brambles which twisted along the mouth and creaked as if they were alive with a sudden gust of wind. The manager of the railway came to the sheds at the end of the line one day to speak to his engines. Now, as you all know well, the idea of arranging boat trains was a delightful success. More and more people are travelling on the railway and are recommending that travel is cheaper and faster this way compared to riding a horse and cart. This is the reason why I have rewritten the timetables to fit in more trains. Colin? Yes, sir. I have chosen you to run the boat trains along with Lily. Yes, sir. And as for Adam, you will be assigned to the goods work and local passenger trips. I'd like you all to meet the expectations I require to run a reliable service on the line. Work well, and I shall gain enough profit to invest in another locomotive by the end of the year. And with that, the manager left. Colin, the saddle tank, and Lily, the side tank, were pleased. The boat trains were given first priority on the line, and treated as if they were a luxurious express. To be given the role of taking the trains was a great honour. Adam, the well tank, was not feeling so joyous. He was the biggest of the engines after all, and having to take the goods and regular passenger trains were not jobs he thought would fit his standards. "It's not fair," he grumbled to Lily one morning. "It should have been me on the boat train duties, not Colin. I don't know what the manager was thinking, to let a puny saddle tank take the fast trains, instead of a big, grand engine like me. It's just not right." He paused as Colin rushed by with his passengers on his way to the docks. Look, there he goes now, thinking he's gained a new status just because he has a better train to pull. Lily spoke kindly to him. "Well, if that's the way you think, then your status hasn't dropped just because you're on goods work. Besides, you're lucky that the manager hasn't just left you to the goods work. He gave you passengers to take care of too. You're still the same engine no matter what, and your status depends on how well you manage the trains, not what type of train it is." After hearing Lily's words, Adam did feel just a little better. "At least I'm still the biggest engine around," he sighed. "Colin will never be that. I do just wish that there was a way which I could take the boat trains instead of him." Oliver, I thought you said this was a ghost story. I haven't heard no ghosts or spooks yet. Are you sure you're telling the right tale?" "I'm sure," insisted Oliver. "Now, if you didn't interrupt so much, I'd have got to the ghostly bit already." Now, Oliver, it's all right. Please, carry on your story. I liked it so far." "Ugh, if you have to." The three engines worked well. Nothing had gone wrong, and they hauled their trains to time. All was going well. But one day, Adam had an accident. He was making his way to the water crane, but then he found that his brakes had become jammed. His driver shut off the regulator and watched anxiously as Adam rolled along the tracks uncontrollably. Lily had just left the turntable, and her fireman had clambered down to turn the handle. Adam slipped onto the turntable just as it began to move. Still moving, he was turned away from the tracks and rolled helplessly off the rails and into a pile of ballast. Lily, her fireman, and Adam were all very surprised.
"You silly great engine. Now we can't use the turntable. You've jammed it."
As this had happened, Colin passed by with his boat train to the docks. "Colin!" wheezed Adam. "I'm off the rails! Go and tell the manager, quickly!" "I'm sorry, Adam," replied Colin as he chuffed on, "but I've got to take this boat train. It is the first priority of the line." Adam fumed in anger as he watched Colin leave Lily and himself stranded by the sheds. Despite doubting he'd be able to, Colin found the manager at the dock station and told him all about the incident. He was soon sent back, rushing along the line with the manager on board the return trip. When they got to the sheds, the manager went over to Lily and Adam. The well tank didn't think that Colin had told the manager about the incident. Nor did he assume that he had brought the manager to him on board his train. It didn't take long for another engine to arrive with the breakdown crane, and within a while Adam was back on the rails and resting in the shed. That night he didn't say a word to Colin, thinking he had left him for the purpose to take his train. And next morning, as the engines headed off to work, he watched a happy saddle tank run off to fetch his morning train. "I'll show him," he sulked to himself. "There has to be a way to pay him out." It was scheduled that Colin took the first and last trains of the day. He didn't mind waking early or staying out late at night. The sounds of the wind and the hum of the rails echoed along the empty valley, and there was nobody else around. One night, Adam was making his way down the line with the mixed goods. When he reached the station, he found himself being diverted into the sidings. The driver eased him to a stop, then went to talk to the signalman. He returned shortly.
"Nothing to worry about. Seems we've been shunned to allow another train to pass again."
"Oh boy, and let me guess which train." Adam sighed as Colin rushed past on his way to the docks. "Stand back," he puffed. "Boat train coming through." Adam seized with fury as he watched the train rocket away into the darkness. "Shunted," he groaned. "I'm always being shunted, and on my own branch too. It's a disgrace." He was soon on his way and making up for lost time. The air was cool and crisp, and the moon stood faded behind a shadow of thick black clouds. Presently he reached the tunnel, and a cold breeze whistled and whispered around him. The sound of his pistons working echoed around the stone bricks, and the noise made Adam smile, just a little. He didn't hold that smile for long. Leaving the other end of the tunnel, he noticed a signalman waving a red flag by the line side.
"Hello,"
said the driver.
"What's up?"
The signalman trundled to the cab. The red flag shook uneasily in his hand, and his face was pale. He stuttered when he spoke.
What are you doing here?
The driver scoffed.
"What do you mean? You're scheduled to come through these goods. Didn't you know?"
The signalman pondered curiously.
But the train! The other train, it was signalled through before you. Why are you here?
"Yes, the boat train overtook us at the last station. Are you feeling alright? I'm afraid I don't understand the situation. Why have you left your signal box?"
The boat train hasn't passed yet, so I went to see if it had broken down. I got this far, then saw you. How did you get here first?
"Oh, well, I'm afraid we haven't seen it. And for certain, we couldn't have busted on the way. There's no passing loop on this section. Are you sure you didn't see it pass by? It is quite dark tonight."
The signalman became insistent.
No, it definitely didn't make it here. I know it didn't. I would have seen it and heard it pass by my window in the box.
What game are you playing on us?
Snorted the fireman. The poor signalman didn't answer. He just looked along the line behind Adam in disbelief.
"Now, if it's alright with you, we need to get this goods train to the dock station. We'll give you a lift back to the signal box if you want, so you can let us through."
The signalman nodded and clambered aboard. He had been certain that Colin and the boat train had not passed by, but nobody seemed to believe him. When Adam reached the docks, he was expecting to see Colin waiting at the station, and was surprised when the platform remained empty. Maybe Colin really is gone, he murmured to himself. No, an engine couldn't have vanished. He must have gone out to the other railway with a special or something. The next morning, the manager came to the sheds. Lily and Adam couldn't help but listen as he spoke to the signalman. So, you're telling me that an engine and its entire train just disappeared without a trace? Nonsense, my good man. I want investigation crews sent out down the line to find this missing train, and I don't want the press involved until we find that it is all a mistake. Lily glanced over to Adam, who was sitting quietly in the shed, with a thoughtful expression on his face. You look worried, Adam. Is there something bothering you? The well tank perked up. No, Lily. I'm just tired as all. It was a long night last night, you know. A long night indeed. Are you sure you didn't see anything strange that you think might be of importance last night? Anything odd or peculiar that you think might have led to Colin's disappearance? Don't say you believe in all this rubbish, Lily. Are you seriously saying that you think it could have been some superstition or something? Colin's just playing a joke. He has been acting overconfident recently. I'm sure he'll be back by this afternoon. You mark my words. However, when Colin did not return that afternoon, Adam secretly became more concerned. But he didn't show it to anyone. Eventually, the press did get hold of the news, and the headline page on the newspapers read, "Missing boat train rises concern for railwaymen." Debate soon aroused among the people of the nearby villages and towns as to what might have happened to the people on board the train, and what should be done about it. Many now believed it was unsafe to travel on the railway, and the idea of horse and cart travel seemed much safer to use. As the amount of passengers dropped, the amount of flowers popped up against the line side grew. Finance for the railway depleted to an all-time low, and it became such an issue that the manager called a notice to his now smaller fleet of engines. Now, as you know, the profit we are earning has reached the bottom of the bucket. So, I am reissuing the dual boat train service that number 1 used to be a major factor of. Adam, I want you to help Lily run them, and I want you both to share out the work with goods and regular passenger trains as well. Yes, sir, chirped Adam excitedly. He didn't feel so bad about Colin now. This was the chance he had been waiting for, to take charge of the line with the boat train service. Adam was very pleased of his role on the line and wanted everyone to know it. Stand back, boat train's coming through. He had a great time and proved to everyone that he was the strongest and fastest engine around. One night, he was waiting for passengers to board. The guard gave the right away, and Adam whistled cheerfully in a wheeze of steam. Little did he know that this would be the last time he would ever leave that station. The night was as dark as the coal in his bunker. The rails beneath his wheels were cold and dry, and the signal lamps shone clear as he passed underneath them. It didn't take long before they reached the tunnel, where it stood covered in the twisted shadows of the decrepit trees. A gust of icy wind blew a cold chill along his boiler as he steamed into the darkness, with the soot-covered bricks swallowing him from the outside. Letting out a shrill whistle made the sound blast long and loud, with an echo following behind. The last coach faded from sight, and it was then that the oil lamps in the carriages went out with an eerie flicker, leaving the passengers aboard isolated from any form of light. A signalman sat in his box. He had been reading the newspaper, and found the matter of a disappearing train quite humorous.
Impossible. An engine disappearing into the fog. Never will I see the day.
This was a new signalman hired to replace the previous, who had resigned because of the lost train encounter. He stood on guard, waiting for the boat train to pass by. 5 minutes passed, then 10, 15. No message had come through saying that the train was delayed, so the signalman ran ahead to say that he was going up the line to see what was wrong. Taking a red flag, he shut the door behind him and shivered as a bitter wind howled around him. He strolled confidently down the line, every creak and groan from the low-hanging branches not a bother to him. At last he reached the tall brick face of the tunnel and peered inside.
Hello?
He spoke, but only the first syllable of the words came back to him. With no reply save the cry from his own echo, he chose to step inside. The tunnel was narrow, and there was only room for the track which the man was forced to walk along. The stones that he walked on crunched against each other, but then another sound took their place. A steady chuffing sound could be heard, and then the signalman was taken by surprise as it grew louder and louder. Presently, the source of the noise came into view, a little red engine. Startled, the signalman found that he couldn't move. The ballast seemed to swallow him to the ground. As an alternative, he waved his flag frantically and shouted out to the fast-approaching train.
No, wait, stop, please, stop. Ah!
But it didn't work. The headline news of the papers next morning was a depressing one for the railway. Train disappears after taking signalman's life. After reading about the incident, the passengers thought it'd be a better choice to find another form of transport, leaving Lily with an empty train at the station. The curse of the tunnel left its mark on the railway, and work for the last remaining engine grew less and less. The manager tried to fix things, closing off the tunnel and running the line as far as the station before it, but things only got worse. The line gained its profit from the service it provided to the ships to the port, and without the full line to run on and no passengers to take there was merely nothing left. The manager called a staff meeting to the engine sheds one day and spoke with a downhearted tone. It seems that after the 2 incidents with engines number 1 and 3, that there is no work left for the remaining engine to do. It is with my deepest regret and sorrow that I will be forced to shut down the railway as an act of bankruptcy. This is not the way I intended things to be. After all, we were going to invest in another engine by now, if things went to plan. But sadly, this is not the case, and the line and its structures will be torn up by the end of this month. Everyone was very sad and worried where they would find work again. But nothing could be done about the matter, and soon the rails were ripped up, and the tunnel boarded up so that nobody could enter. And still, to this day, nobody knows why the 2 trains went missing. And all their lives on board were lost, finished Oliver grandly. Well, what do you think? It'd have been better if it was based on a true story, muttered Donald. What do you mean? I take Donald's point. I've heard of Colin, Lily and Adam. They were all sent for scrap. They never vanished in a tunnel. Well, that's not my fault. Driver told me the story, and I think it's believable. Have you got another story? Asked Donald. One that might scare me this time. Before Oliver could protest his answer, a workman came up to them.
No time for tales, Oliver. Douglas has come off near Holtrow, so you'll need to take the breakdown crane.
Oh, why do I have to go? Moaned Oliver.
Controller's orders, Oliver. He wants you to go. Now get to it.
Och, bye on, Oliver, chaffed Donald. Make sure you don't run into any ghosts on the way. Oliver didn't pay any attention. He just quickly headed off to rescue Douglas. He didn't believe in his story either, but was sure that he must have spooked Donald or Duck with his tale. Ghosts? Ha! Disappearing trains? Nonsense. That's just silly.